ladies and gentlemen, today we have with us an ASME icon who has been with ASME for a long time. He has been an active volunteer, and I guess the whole ASME organization is familiar with his personality. He's an icon of the society. He started in mechanical engineering back in 1954. He's from Australia. He has served as the regional leader for the international region back in the day. He also served as the district leader and the region leader of Asia Pacific. Today we have with us Mr. Vojislav Ilic. Hi Vic, how are you?
Greetings, I'm very well, thank you, Usman. Glad to hear from you, and thank you for these accolades you gave me.
How are things in Australia?
At the moment, we are getting out of COVID in Sydney, slowly. Now we can get out and go to a restaurant and sit down and have a cup of coffee. Before we couldn't do that.
Good for you. Good
but generally, it's okay. It's okay. The weather's nice, and we might go to the beach pretty soon when they open up the beaches.
Oh, perfect, perfect. So everybody has the first question on their mind. How did you start up with mechanical engineering? How and why did you end up being a mechanical engineer?
It was, for me, it was simple because there are things in life that that seem to be very difficult to accept. How come that you have a piece of steel like a ship floating on water? That's you know how come? Or you know, so I kept asking questions. And you have an aeroplane, you know. It's heavier than air, and yet it flies, you know, how come? So I asked those questions, and eventually and slowly drifted towards engineering. My grandfather had a tractor on a farm, and I lived in a city. I went to on the farm, and I liked to sit on the tractor. I liked the smell of diesel, you know, and that drew me to mechanical engineering ultimately. Yeah.
So tell us about your university days. Where did you graduate from, and how you were as a student? We heard rumors that you were very popular with the girls.
That is a matter of opinion. I was active as a student in the sense that I was representing students, engineering students as a whole on the Student Representative Committee, so-called SRC. I was editor of the annual magazine for the Royal Melbourne Institute of Technology, where I started my diploma, Royal Melbourne first. And yeah, this is where I began. You know, I got a taste of engineering. I was too busy to really socialize very much. You know, it was not on the agenda at that time, because first things come first. You know, you have to have some profession sorted out before I do anything else. And so I was very keen, and I got where I was heading. But then it was just a foretaste of what engineering is about. So when I wanted to know more, they told me, "Oh, you have to go to that college up the road from Melbourne, RMIT, which is Melbourne University." You know, so I went to university. Wasn't able to cope with the full-time study because we needed money, and I said to Father, "Look, you know, I'm going out and live on my own in Sydney, and I'm going to find a job, and I'm going to study in Sydney." And so I continued my studies while working in Sydney. And I was very fortunate, no distractions. And I managed to do well at university. And they kept me to do masters. And in the process, I was actually employed at the Atomic Energy Commission in Sydney, and because I was attracted to heat transfer and fluid mechanics, I was delegated to do some research in those areas with reactor cooling. And at the same time, I was doing a master's course in mechanical engineering to do with choked flow. I don't know if you remember what choked flow is. Choked flow. It was very intriguing phenomenon, and especially if you have water steam situation. And so I was investigating that, and I actually my master's thesis was based on it. And so I wasn't too happy with just the master's, because there was another step to go, which is a PhD. And when I got to well, the situation where I was given that option, I took it. I forgot to tell you that during my work at Australian Atomic Energy Commission, the chances of getting a nuclear reactor for Australia were basically zero. And so I was transferred to CSIRO, which is Commonwealth Scientific and Research Organization, Industrial Research Organization. And while I was in America, because after getting my master's, I got invited to Thayer School of Engineering in Dartmouth College, fantastic place. It was just indescribable, because the world gurus, Wallace, Graham Wallace was there, and he was in the book, first book that I knew of on two-phase flow, which I was involved in. And it was very memorable, and still we keep in touch. And then I was given a chance to go to Santa Barbara and University of UCSB, and with Sanjoy Banerjee, another highly respected worker in two-phase flow fluid mechanics. And eventually I had to go back and start multi-phase flow group at CSIRO, which saw me transfer to university from CSIRO. They actually sponsored me to get in. And once I got in, then I had to wave goodbye. We waved each other goodbye. I stayed at university, got a job there as a very junior academic while I was doing PhD at night. I mean, essentially. And it was fabulous. I had a very understanding wife who put up with my working until midnight in the laboratory and so on. And eventually I graduated, and people started calling me a doctor. So I had to explain, look, I'm really not a doctor. What you think of medicine, and doctor of engineering. Oh, we didn't know there was doctor of engineering. Well, oh, now you know. But it's very confusing. So that's, I don't know, a rambling story about my background and my
thank you. Very impressive. Very impressive how you worked and how you had to work during the day and then study as well during your student years. How you had to cope with both things. That's very challenging, very amazing, very impressive, and very big inspiration for all of us.
Oh, thank you. But
so you mentioned that you started your career with the Atomic Energy Commission, and you were involved in areas of heat transfer, and then you went on to get a doctorate degree. So did you stay in the academia ever since then, or what about your professional career?
Professional career. No, actually, when I come to think of it, after getting my PhD, I was actually invited by inaugural professor of mechanical engineering to go to a new university, so-called University of Western Sydney, in the Sydney West, to establish mechanical engineering discipline in the School of Engineering. And so I was the second one. He was the first, the professor, and I came with him, or just after him. And we drafted mechanical engineering course, and I helped as much as I could. And eventually we got staff to join us. And so we started mechanical engineering there, and mechatronics, which was flavor of the month as well, and biomedical engineering. So it grew and grew, and it was very interesting, very challenging, because one does not get too many opportunities in life to start a course in engineering at a new university, and I had this privilege. I was very, 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 very privileged to be able to do this. So, and I'm still connected with the university. You know, I'm as you're well aware, very interested in the most complicated mechanism that a mechanical engineer can come across, and that is the human body. You know, and it is not that different from a car, if you like, but it's more complicated. And so I'm looking into this, and I see lots of things that need to be rationally explained to people, so they can understand that they actually can be in charge of their health. Doctors there to help, but they themselves should be the first to take care of their own health. So this is, as you know, what I'm evangelizing about.
So I don't know what's your take on time travel, but if we send you back in a time machine, would you change something about your past?
Well, I would try to have less distractful time by having to work in things which I had to do to earn some money as a migrant, underage migrant who needed to help father to pay off the house. So if I could possibly, in my next life, be born into a family which is well established in Australia, for instance, then I could devote all of my time to do really what I want or would like to do. But I had to do lots of things, you know, which gave me an interesting point of view on life, but also it helped me appreciate, you know, what other people do, and how does that compare to what I've chosen to do. And so I tried, you know, from builders laborers, I was an aircraft fitter, I was jack of all trades, and this is during my formative times, you know, when I was studying at night, doing my money earning exercise during the day. And so I ended up, you know, having lots of interesting experiences, as I mentioned earlier, you know, in our correspondence, aircraft fitting, then car engine assembly, General Motors Holden's, aircraft assembly, Sabre jets in Australia, the early days when we were building aircraft here of that type, and also, yeah, it was a great experience, but it took time, which subtracted from my academic engagements, and so it tended to prolong it. But it gave me lots of experience. I'm very grateful now, having a broad outlook. And of course, then I was fortunate to come across ASME. The library at the university, engineering library, had stacks of...
Next question for you. Like the ASME Australia section is one of the oldest sections in our region and one of the most active sections. So since we're at it, how did you get involved with ASME? How did it happen? Yeah.
Okay. Question. Well, I spent a lot of time in the library, and when I wasn't studying my texts, I used to sort of get a bit of a break and rummage through the journals. And one journal, which in particular, which caught my attention, was ASME Journal of Mechanical Engineering, and it was so good. It was so well presented, such a quality journal, and quality articles, that I took it upon myself to learn more about ASME, and the more I learned, the more impressed I got. And when I realized there was an ASME group in Australia, centered around a correspondent for Australia, there wasn't this section structure in place then. And the correspondent for Australia was a contact for ASME, for someone in Australia to organize meetings and welcome any VIPs that came in. And so I established contact with the group, got involved with attending such meetings of VIPs from US and listening to the interesting talks. And then for some reason, this guy had enough. He was there for years and he left. And there was nothing, here. So I said to myself, well, maybe I can do something. So put my hand up, and they said in the headquarters, yeah, you're it. You're the correspondent for Australia. And this is how I came to kind of a leadership position, and welcomed various VIPs from US that through ASME that were passing through Australia, through Sydney. And eventually, a group came with the express purpose to establish sections. And so they looked at countries in Southeast Asia to establish their own organizations, that we now have of ASME sections. And so I got to lead Australia section, and other people led from other countries, they had their own sections. And there was a meeting or two, I will forget now how many, where we all met somewhere. And ASME, in his generosity, paid us, as leaders of various countries to meet, say, at Seoul in Korea or some other place. And then we had meetings there. And for the region, Southeast Asia region. And time came to choose a leader, and suddenly I found myself being voted for. I became, in Asia Pacific region, they picked me for the colleagues, from other countries, they voted for me. So, and so I led Asia Pacific, and that was very interesting time, and I really enjoyed myself. Made a lot of friends, and we still keep in touch. For instance, like Usman. Usman is an old hand as well, and yes, it's very memorable time, most enjoyable, most fruitful, and something that I can never forget. And I feel indebted to ASME for making me feel an engineer. The library of books that I got through ASME, the journals of ASME, mechanical engineering, people that I met and who I still keep in touch with from USA, write textbooks that I used to use in university. And this is amazing, to actually meet a guru who knows so much, like Graham Wallace.
ASME can say the same about you. We'll always be indebted to your contributions for ASME and for the region. You have given a lot to ASME over the years. We were proud of your contributions, and they helped us come a long way.
Thank you, but we have to be all on the same wavelength, and then things happen.
So what motivates you about volunteering at ASME? What's the best aspect of volunteering at ASME?
Well, it is not just ASME. I'm, for instance, when I see quality and I am enthused about it, then it just follows, shall we say, logically, that for me to actually support that organization. ASME, I have in debt to ASME for opening up my eyes into the world of mechanical engineering through most informative congresses and conferences I had with ASME, the publications, people who I met, who actually wrote textbooks that I was using at university. You know,
Amazing, yeah.
it's just phenomenal. I mean, they are, and I'm really indebted to the organization for providing me with this opportunity to learn, and the least I can do is contribute in some way. You know, and this is why I'm a supporter of ASME. You know, I do believe that more could be done, but what we need is the right kind of people, like you, Usman.
So a little bit serious question, which is next. How do you think, how important do you think is academic success for real life success for the real world? How do you comment on that?
How important is academic access to
Academic
what?
success, how important is academic success for real world success? Like
Oh,
if you
well,
have good grades in university, does that guarantee that you will be a very successful person overall in life?
no, 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 no. University gives you an alphabet, an introduction, and it gives you the logic, the structure, but it is not be all and end all. I think it's just the beginning. This is just the alphabet of engineering that you learn there's the basics of engineering that you learn at university. So without industrial experience, I think an engineering knowledge is very limited. You know, I think engineering is by definition something which is hands-on. It is not something which you just sit there and read and make theories. It is more creative, and so I don't think the academic type of engineering is the ultimate. I think the ultimate actually is the applied, because this is what engineering is about. And then learn the basics, teach to students the basics of engineering at the university. You know, so I don't think that one can be an engineer just by having a piece of paper which says you're an engineer. No, you have to be actually practical. So you have to be accepted by organization, endorsed by an organization like ASME, and be recognized as being not just an academic, but also a person who is comfortable with practical things, applied things. So
That engineering does give you an analytical and logical mindset, you know, for everything in life.
well, you know, I think this is what engineering is about. It provides this logical structure, you know, which we need to resolve many confusing issues in life, you know, and this, you know, when you applied the engineering logic to them, you soon find it's solvable, you know. It looks confusing, somebody who has, he's not an engineer, but of course for us, we can resolve it. Yeah.
So you helped set up a mechanical engineering faculty, a department at your university, and you had a big interest in engineering education. How did you transition towards biomedical sciences?
Oh, very good question, Usman. Very good question. How did that happen? Well, okay. One of the innovations for which I was responsible was biomedical engineering. I introduced that at the university, at my school. And it wasn't just a textbook type of engineering, biomedical engineering. I actually involved medical practitioners who were using engineering tools to apply in a medical situation. So I had cochlear implants people coming in, and had dentists coming in, and Chinese acupuncturists coming in, you know. Anybody who was using anything mechanical, you know, they would come in and give a lecture. And I just stood, I sat with the students and I was listening, learning myself. And I got so entrenched. I mean, I got so interested in what was going on that I kept liaising with other departments within university, so we had some interaction. However, it wasn't welcomed by engineering, the then head of engineering school, the dean, so I felt somewhat constrained. However, I'm not inability to do this in a wholesale, but I could do it on a small scale, just for myself. And then I began in this search for what is going on. I started to see a rationality in all this, because if you consider human body as a machine, like a car, well, car doesn't run forever unless you maintain it. What about human body? You know, you have to maintain it too. So you have to watch what kind of food you have, you know, and if anything goes wrong, you have to fix it, and so on. And then you ask yourself, well, you know, why things do go wrong? And it was in this in 2003, when the human genome was sequenced. It was discovered that human body actually responds to environment by way of its genes, producing proteins which depend on the environment in which they found themselves. And so human body had 6 times as many proteins as there are genes, which was unheard of in biology, which before that 1 gene equaled 1 protein dogma. And so I got very interested in all that, and kept looking at it, studying it, and I've come up with, by using engineering analogy, you know, I came up with a list of factors which are principal in keeping people in good condition. And it is up to us, and it boils down to how we live. And not just how we live, what are the elements of our lifestyle. And this is what I keep preaching about. And as you may recall, the talk which I gave in Malaysia, you know, it was it was I remember this one. You know, maintaining peak performance in work years and beyond. This is to do with body maintenance. How we maintain a car, we should also maintain the body. And there are certain ways of doing it, which are based on the fact that biologically we are very simple creatures. Our environment is very complicated to the environment in which we grew up as human beings in Stone Age, and so on. So this has got me intrigued. It's another challenge, and I saw the logic in it, and I saw the benefit in it. I mean, we don't have to get sick. You know, it's unbelievable, but you know, with some people. But you know, if you look after your body in the way in which the body has to be looked after, then you are immune. You know, and but people rely on medications to get well. They have side effects, unfortunately. You know, and so we are better off avoiding this by keeping the body from getting sick through watching the elements of lifestyle that keep us in good condition, which hark back to Stone Age. You know, so because biologically, that is what we are. You know, so can you imagine this biological, this biology of a Stone Age person suddenly transforming into 21st century? Good heavens above, with all these things around us, with all these soft drinks and cakes and and a lot of food to eat, not a moment to fast. Fasting is actually very good for us, but we don't fast because there's too much food around. So this does have an effect on us. And I'm glad to have seen the light. Now that I have more time to look into what's going on around me and look into medicine. And I have a support of my dean. When I said to my dean, I actually want to leave, but because that's what I'm interested to do. And he said, oh, stay and research. And I said, there's nothing to do with engineering.
That's great, yeah.
And it was a fantastic opportunity. I mean, his dean, I have to mention his name, Simeon Simov, is a one of the kind. And I'm so grateful to him for giving me support and enabling me to learn so much. And I want to pass on this knowledge. Actually, I don't know if I have it here, but I'm actually in the process of writing a booklet about what I've learned, not for an academic discourse. It's for people, so they understand what's going on and they do something about their lives. They don't have to accept that, oh, it is inevitable. I was talking to a dentist. And I said, oh, there were some issues about teeth. Well, if you have a bad teeth, and the bacteria get into the bloodstream, they end up in the brain, they go to blood-brain barrier, they invade the brain defends itself by making up amyloid plaque to trap these bacteria, these microbes, and too much plaque stops people from being able to think properly. This is the beginning of Alzheimer's disease. So, people know, you have to be your oral health has to be good. And this is just the beginning.
I know you can fill in hours on this, Vic, and I think we'll need a separate interview just to cover this topic.
Well, thank you for putting up with me. I don't know if you can make any sense.
I remember when we were having our meetings in Asia Pacific, you were giving us Tai Chi classes during those meetings. I remember those.
Was that? Yes, I did all sorts of funny things. But yeah, Tai Chi is very good. Qigong also is very good. Qigong, so meditation is very good. If you can, we should be able to find some time, especially if you work somewhere in a very busy place, find a quiet moment somewhere where you can, half an hour if you can, 10 minutes even, just relax and a deep breathe for 10 minutes, 5 minutes. Very beneficial for the body, especially if you got work in a busy place. So try and find a few minutes every day. Maybe when you get up, just find a quiet spot and just relax for a few minutes.
It was very interesting to hear your story of transformation from engineering education to this biomedical and health. What about
I'm sure I'm not the only one.
What about the transformation of the engineering profession? Like, how do you compare the engineering profession back in 1954 when you started out and now in 2021? But what has changed? How it has transformed the profession?
It is very much different in the sense that we have more of a merging of disciplines, in the products that make our life easier. It's not just the pure mechanical things. Now the electromechanical things. We have artificial intelligence creeping in. All these things will make engineering just a one of the elements that go into the complex mechanisms that are in the making or that have been already made. The artificial intelligence issues, and it is even hard to think, hard to imagine that we'll have a robot telling us what to do. But it's big changes underway, I'm sure, and I just wish I could do some more study in that department, but I can't really uh, predict anything concrete. It's just going to be very different. It's going to be involving cross disciplines of all kinds, not just pure engineering, nuts and bolts. No, it's going to be much more complex.
How do you see the future of engineering and mechanical engineering? Do you think it's the merging of professions is going to continue, or forms are going to change, or some professions or some disciplines of engineering are going to become like off the scene in the future?
Well, I think in a specialization, it's always going to be, you know, for those who are purists, who are just interested in a particular thing. But ultimately, in order to have an applied, have an application, then you have to join everything what it takes. Look now at this instance that's now been only mentioned. It hasn't actually materialized until around about the end of the year. They're talking about having a detector which will pick up microbes around you, including COVID, by just wearing a badge, like a size of a 50-cent coin, which will tell you if there are any particular viruses around you. This is something which I think is high end of engineering. It's being made. It's going to be released about December. And so you have it on the wall in your office or somewhere, and everybody walks in, starts coughing, you're ready to see, aha, you've got something over there, get out. So, we are merging, various disciplines into a useful applications, such as this particular one. Biology, electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, chemical engineering. It all gets together. Yes, for the final product.
It's all here to stay, yeah. Especially mechanical. So all these are the hardcore engineers. They all are here to stay. Especially mechanical engineering is.
Oh, mechanical engineering, as I said, it's a multidisciplinary type of profession, and I think it has. I predict a long future. Mechanical engineering, because it is not just a narrow field. It has, as you know, a bit of chemical engineering, a bit of civil engineering, a bit of electrical engineering. You name it, it's all there, and it's a matter of one embracing a particular direction which you like most, and for which there are opportunities. So, but if you're trained in other fields which are not so versatile, then there are difficulties finding application.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm not really an authority on the subject, but these are my opinions.
Yeah. And how do you see the future of ASME? You've been with ASME for quite some time. What, in your opinion, what would be the major challenges for technical societies in the next 15, 20 years?
Well, I think the importance of any organization is to be relevant, and for this, for an organization to be relevant, you need leadership, which has this vision that would be the direction of the society that would remain relevant. And I think ASME is in good hands, has been in good hands so far. I remember when I was there, it was certainly very good. I am sure it will continue its tradition. And just looking at different aspects of, if you look at publications that come up from ASME, in different journals, it's a huge field. And I think future ASME is assured. I think it's just have to remain enthusiastic management, leaders, and the future will just be very secure for ASME, in my opinion. And I would like to see it be more international, more international. It has so much to offer to mankind, and by having this international outreach is an excellent thing, and hopefully it is going to continue and strengthen with time to come.
Nice. Thank you for your opinion. And you have been with ASME for quite some time, and you volunteered in different positions. What are some of your favorite memories from your volunteer work with ASME?
My favorite memories. Well, my favorite memories were going to annual general meetings of ASME in the States and listening to those fantastic speakers, you know, who saw the world that we could only perceive far away in Australia, you know, in a very tangible light. And it was so inspiring to actually be associated with ASME for the opportunity that it gave to people, you know, who are not ASME resident, America residents, so to have ready access to these innovations and experts. And this is something which ASME has generously contributed to the knowledge base of well, world engineers. I don't know, I can say very much, but I'm very impressed. Maybe people say, oh, I'm biased. Well, in my opinion, you know, I think I was very fortunate to be exposed to such an expertise, such an excellent organization as ASME, and the library of books, and it's just phenomenal. And people, well, I just have no words. Most impressive, and I think if it stays like this, it'll be around forever.
Right. Let's lighten up the mood a little bit. So what keeps you busy beyond your work life? I remember once you told me that you have an interest in beekeeping. Do you still have bees?
I'm interested in bees. Very bees. But you know what? I live in an urban setting. Okay, it's a bit rustic where I am. You know, I don't know if you remember, you know, but you know, it is a bush around us where we live, and there's water at the bottom of our block. There's a river, the Georges River, and it was an ideal setting for a beehive at the back of the house, close to the water, away from everybody. Well, guess what? A new neighbor moved in and said, "Oh, I have you here bees. Oh, you know, they make such noise at night in my bedroom. They keep eating away at the walls, you know, and I'm very allergic to bees. Now, can you please get rid of them? You know, what can you do?" And if I wanted to war with neighbors, you know, they said, "No, you must be dreaming." Yeah. So I had to get rid of the bees. So I did this is one of the things which I used to do is beekeeping. I still very interested in bees. Always rescue bees when I see them drowning. But that's one of my interests. Is certainly being. I've never stopped being interested in bees because, you know, now that I'm more interested in health issues, I can see that bees have something to contribute, you know, to the propolis, and we have manuka honey. You know, it's very beneficial, you know, not just for cleaning up some internal infections, but if you had external issues, you know, wounds, etc., applying externally on skin. It helps, reputedly. My grandfather believed in it. So, you know, old people really know best, especially grandfathers. And so I don't know, I'm very impressed with how old he's evolving. And, you know, some of the insects that are around the house, I don't know, it's just amazing. They're absolutely amazing. Have you ever looked at a spider's cobweb? How geometrically perfect it is. It's only a spider.
He's a good engineer.
Very good engineer. So, I mean, I never cease to be amazed, you know, so many more things that I need to find out about. So I don't know if I answered your question in any tangible way, but you ask difficult questions.
I asked you about your hobbies, like what keeps you busy beyond work. Like,
hobbies. Well, you know, at the moment, I actually have tons of books to read. You know, I have books to read. For instance, you know, I have, cholesterol myth, and Alzheimer's disease. This is Dale Bredesen is an American doctor from, I think it's one of the East Coast universities. He discovered how to actually mitigate memory loss due to Alzheimer's disease. It's amazing. People who were removed from, they couldn't do any work, they were actually returned back to work after his treatment. Now, he didn't use he used lifestyle issues. I mean, that's amazing, you know. And people say, oh, you know, this is your genes, you know, once you get this is the end of you. No, it is not. And so, you know, I read things like this. This is what I'm doing these days. I'm actually digging deep into well, things which I didn't do at university. I can't do everything.
Your hobby and your work.
Honey?
So
Hobby and work, yes.
Your work, yeah.
It is. You know, I'm most grateful to, as I said, my university, especially my dean, Professor Simov, who let me enjoy the privilege of an academic, as a research academic, to have access to university facilities like library. And if I want any journal at all, they can get it for me. Any reference at all, they'll get it for me. They'll even buy a book if they don't have it, and I request it. I mean, this is
that is incredible.
You can't ask for any more.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is just, I'm very fortunate. I really am very fortunate. And I enjoy immensely what I'm doing. I do miss students in a way, studious students. I had some wonderful students, they're really exceptional. On the other hand, I had others who were not so exceptional. It was, you know, it was, how shall I say, depressing to see them cheating, you know, and it happens. Then it is more important for to get a piece of paper than actually get knowledge. So, you know, it's I left that behind. I'm now looking at research, and it's very, very tangible and applicable to not just me, but everybody, you know, who wants to listen. So if you stay tuned, in due course, there's going to be a little booklet of what I've been talking about for people to realize they are in charge of the vehicle, which is the body. And we are and whoever we are the chauffeur, you know, the driver of the car. The car is our body, and the driver is somebody somewhere in us. So we should be able to control, to a large extent, what happens to us as a body. I'm looking to this.
I'm very thankful to you for contributing an article on the same subject we'll publish in this edition of the newsletter. So it's for
thank you for your interest.
We were thankful. I think it's going to be very useful for our readers.
Well, look, I'm thankful to you for helping me spread the word. I like to make people to empower people that they are actually can do something about their health. They say, "Oh, it's in the genes." No, genes are there, yes, but what they do to your body depends on how you live. I mean, this is people say, "Oh, yeah, my father had this, my grandfather this." Yeah, okay, but they had similar lives. You change your lifestyle, and you won't get what's in your genes. Your genes are going to respond the way in which you live. And this is nobody tells us this, and this is it takes an engineer to to make people realize what's going on. But anyway, you'll hear from me in due course. There's going to be a little booklet before long.
I'll be waiting for that. Yeah.
Thank you.
So like everybody has an inner child inside, a hidden child, a child hidden inside them. Now, when does your inner child come out?
My inner child. Well, I don't know if I can call it inner child, but I like to amaze little kids by doing little tricks.
Like I remember once I saw you with a huge Donald Duck you were carrying at the airport.
If you want to make friends with strangers, do that. Ah, yes, kids come to you, and all the people come to you. Yeah. Well, what I found very interesting. I have two magnets, and I put one on the top of the table, and the other one under the table. I just keep on moving it, and this thing moves itself. And the kids go, "Oh, magic!" So it'll spark their interest. So this gives me, it's a bit of an amusement, but I like to intrigue the kids and make them think, how come, why, and eventually, hopefully, they will
end up as engineers.
Well, I hope so, because there is not everybody can be an engineer, but engineers are special people like me. So. Yeah. But it's good to appreciate engineering, and I think this is what we need to spread the word about. What engineers do, and a lot of people are unaware of this. They say engineers is about nuts and bolts. Well, yeah, they were talking about a few hundred years ago. Engineers are now almost like watchmakers.
But that's the name of our newsletter as well, Nuts and Bolts.
Is that right? Yes. Well, that is engineering, nuts and bolts. Exactly. Yeah, fantastic. Well, it's always a pleasure to have a chat with you, Usman, and I look forward to the time when you all and your family are going to take off and come back to Australia again, come to Sydney in particular, and enjoy our hospitality.
Sure, as soon as you open the borders, I am all set to travel. But this,
we're most welcome here, and it would be an honor to be with you here in Sydney. And I don't know if you can. Our block is big enough for a big tent, so we can always accommodate visitors. But as you know, it's not a huge place, but it's enough. We have a spare room for visitors like you and your family. So when you come, let us know. We want to make sure that we are here, and it would be nice, to actually when you make. I don't know if you can, but make rounds of visit the sections, in Southeast Asia. So when you drop in, visit Sydney and drop in and visit other places, it'll be great. So I look forward to that.
Well, so indeed. Talking about people, Do you have a favorite
Mhm.
set of people? You worked with the Generation X, Generation Y, Millennials, the Generation Z, the Alpha generation. Do you see any differences between the priorities of each generation, or their behavior in general, or their
Well,
mindset?
yes, people do have their idiosyncrasies, the different generations. But to me, they are not so important. I think what is important is how do we get on as people? How do we interact? And so I don't really look at age so much. I know some people say, "Oh well, he's too young to understand this. So why do you waste time?" No, it gives you pleasure and gives him or her pleasure to talk with you. Well, you certainly don't shy away because yeah, he's younger or whatever. No, so I don't have favorite as such. Some people are more likable than others. Some people are more easily because they you can get on with them more easily. They're sometimes on the same wavelength if they happen to be, of similar backgrounds. If you're engineers, so you understand each other, at a different level. So, yeah, I don't think I can say, oh, you are Generation X, I'm Generation Z, so, we don't have anything in common. I don't look at it that way. It's the people, and each individual is different, and each individual can contribute something unique, so we just have to be mindful of that and be humble, So I'm a mechanical engineer. Who do you think you are? Oh, you're doing an arts graduate. What's that? No.
Yeah.
People have a wrong attitude, I think. Yeah.
I'll tell you what, you have a good voice talent as well. You could be a very good voiceover artist and a good actor as well, in addition to being a mechanical engineer, Vic.
Well, I believe, that it is very important to have the right attitude, and some people, I don't know, I haven't met too many of them, but some people in awe of themselves. They think that everybody else should just say, hello, good, how are you, sir? And wear a tie and all that sort of stuff. Well, it's everything for for different occasions, etc. But I think one has to be friendly towards everybody, and not saying, I'm your friend because you're a mechanical engineer. You're not a mechanical engineer. I don't know about you. No. It's not to do with that. It's you're looking at personalities, because what we do does have an effect on who we are, to a certain extent. And of course, mechanical engineers do have something in common, but that's not enough, to bind people together. There are some other values, and we should realize, that everybody has to offer something. We should be receptive to this and be humble, and be grateful for the opportunity, to be able to exchange ideas and rub shoulders with others we can learn from, and who want to learn from us, and so on. So life is a very interesting experience,
Thank
in my
you.
opinion.
Thank you for your time, Vic. I had a very it was an interesting conversation. I had a good time actually. It's always fun and interesting to have a conversation with you. I'm sure our viewers and our readers will love this interview. So I really appreciate and thank you very much for your time.
Oh, thank you for having me. My apologies if I said something wrong, but it was not, rehearsed.
It's all perfect. It's all good. Thank you for your time.
Not at all. Thank you for having me, and